The massive chamber floated in space like a crystal bubble. Inside, representatives from 200 different worlds sat in their assigned seats. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few glowed with strange light. Ambassador Jiho walked slowly toward the center platform. His shoes made soft sounds on the polished floor. Behind him, Dr. Minho carried a data tablet with shaking hands. Jiho had prepared for this moment for 3 months. Every night he reviewed the numbers. Every morning he practiced his speech. The data was clear. Something terrible was happening at the center of their galaxy. Ancient machines left by a civilization long dead were breaking down. When they failed completely, a wave of deadly radiation would sweep across thousands of star systems. Billions would die. He reached the speaking platform and looked up. High Chancellor Vexthar sat on the highest seat. The crystalline being sparkled under the lights. Its body was beautiful but cold. Jiho bowed respectfully. Honored council members, I bring urgent news from Earth's scientific community. Vexthar's voice echoed through the chamber like breaking glass. The humans wish to speak. How amusing. Very well, Ambassador. Entertain us. Jiho felt the insult but did not show it. He activated the holographic display. A 3-dimensional image of the galaxy appeared above him. Red lights pulsed at its core. Our scientists have detected unusual gravitational waves. They come from here. He pointed to the center. We believe the containment systems built by the precursors are failing. Dr. Minho sent more data to the displays around the chamber. Graphs showed energy spikes. Charts predicted the timeline. According to our calculations, we have 18 months before the cascade becomes unstoppable. We need to prepare evacuation protocols immediately. Silence filled the chamber for exactly 3 seconds. Then someone laughed. It was Senator Kilmara, her tentacles waving in amusement. Evacuation? The humans have been in space for barely 200 years and they think they understand galactic mechanics? More laughter rippled through the assembly. Jiho stood still, his face calm. Senator, we have verified these readings multiple times. Our deep space observation posts have been monitoring. Your observation posts? Archon Feldros stood up, his armored body gleaming. You barely have 10 stations beyond your own solar system. The Rexian Empire has maintained thousands of monitoring sites for 10,000 years. If something were truly wrong, we would know. Perhaps your monitoring systems are too old to detect these specific frequencies. Dr. Minho said quietly. Several council members gasped at his boldness. Vexthar's laugh was like shattering ice. Too old? Child. Our civilization mastered quantum detection before your species discovered fire. This council has seen countless young races make apocalyptic predictions. You are not the first to cry about the sky falling. Jiho tried again. Chancellor, if you would just examine our data. We have examined it, Kilmara interrupted. My staff reviewed your findings during your approach. The conclusion is simple. Your equipment is miscalibrated. Your scientists are inexperienced and your species is seeking attention. Attention? Jiho's voice remained level, but Dr. Minho could see his jaw tighten. We are trying to save lives. Feldros walked down from his seat, moving closer to the platform. Are you? Or are you looking for an excuse to avoid military service? Earth has never contributed soldiers to the Council's peacekeeping forces. You claim to be peaceful, but perhaps you are simply cowards who invent threats to justify your isolation. The chamber filled with approving murmurs. Jiho looked around slowly. Every face showed either mockery or indifference. No one believed him. No one would even consider that a young species might see something they missed. He began gathering his materials. The data tablet. The backup drives. The printed reports that no one had read. Dr. Minho helped him, moving quickly, eager to leave. The laughter continued around them. When everything was packed, Jiho straightened his jacket. He looked up at Vexthar one final time. The Chancellor waved a dismissive hand. You may go, Ambassador. And please do not waste this council's time with such fantasies again. Jiho bowed. It was a formal bow, precise and correct. We came in hope of cooperation, he said clearly. We leave in certainty of our own path. He turned and walked toward the exit. Dr. Minho followed. Behind them, the laughter grew louder. Someone made a joke about primitive sensors. Another suggested humans believed in magic. As the door sealed behind them, Dr. Minho finally spoke. They did not listen. Not even a little. No, Jiho agreed. They did not. What do we do now? Jiho activated his communicator. We do what humans always do when no one believes us. We save ourselves. He sent a coded message back to Earth. 3 words that would change everything. Activate Protocol Exodus. The ship that carried them away from the council station was silent. Both men stared out the window at the glittering chamber growing smaller in the distance. Somewhere inside, 200 civilizations continued their business, confident in their wisdom, certain of their superiority. They had 18 months to learn how wrong they were. 3 months had passed since the council hearing. Earth's orbital command station buzzed with activity. Every day ships arrived and departed. Every night engineers worked without rest. In a secure briefing room deep inside the station, General Deho spread a holographic star map across the table. "Show me the timeline again," he said. Dr. Minho touched his tablet. Red circles appeared on the map, growing slowly outward from the galactic core. 15 months until the wave reaches the inner colonies. 16 months until it hits Earth. These calculations have a margin of error of only 2 weeks. Ambassador Jiho sat quietly in the corner. He had not spoken to the Galactic Council since that day. He had not tried to contact them. When their messages arrived asking for routine reports, he sent only basic information. Nothing about the preparations. Nothing about what Earth was building. The Horizon Project? General Deho looked at Captain Hyun. Captain Hyun stood up. She was a tall woman with gray streaks in her black hair. 20 years in the military had taught her to speak with confidence. "The ship will be ready in 12 months. All major systems are functional. We are running final tests on the shield array." "Tell me about these shields," Jiho said. It was the first time he had spoken in the meeting. Engineer Suji pulled up a new display. She was the youngest person in the room, barely 25, but her ideas had changed everything. "The quantum displacement shield does not block energy. It redirects it. When radiation hits the field, the shield sends it into a parallel dimensional space for exactly 0.03 seconds. Then it releases the energy in a safe direction. How much energy can it handle?" General Deho asked. Suji smiled. "We tested it yesterday with the equivalent of a solar flare. The shield did not even flicker. According to the simulations, it can handle the cascade wave. One shield?" Captain Hyun leaned forward. "Or multiple shields working together?" "Both," Suji replied. "A single shield can protect a ship or a small station. But if we network them together, they can create a protective bubble large enough for an entire planet." The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. Earth had developed something no other civilization possessed. A defense against something that should be unstoppable. "How many shields can we build in 15 months? General Deho asked. 30 large units, Suji said. Maybe 40 if we push production. Enough to protect Earth, Mars, the Europa colonies, and our deep space stations. What about our people in the outer colonies? Someone asked. Evacuation begins next week, General Deho said firmly. Everyone from the outer rim comes home. No one gets left behind. Ambassador Jiho finally stood up. He walked to the window and looked out at Earth below. The blue and green planet turned slowly, unaware of what was coming. The Council still does not believe us, he said quietly. I checked their public broadcasts. They mention unusual readings from the core, but they call it normal stellar activity. They think we are foolish children afraid of shadows. Let them think that, Captain Hyun said. We do not need their approval to survive. Dr. Minho cleared his throat. Actually, the Council's scientists are starting to notice. 3 different species have sent research teams to the core region. But their leaders are not acting on the findings. Politics, General Deho said with disgust. They are more worried about looking foolish than about saving their people. Jiho turned back to the group. We have a decision to make. When the truth becomes obvious, the Council will come to us. They will ask for our help, our data, our technology. What do we tell them? The question hung in the air. Captain Hyun spoke first. We help them. We have to. Billions of lives are at stake. After they mocked us? Suji shook her head. After they called us cowards and fools? Yes, Hyun said firmly. Because we are not them. We do not let pride kill people. General Deho nodded slowly. Agreed, but we help on our terms. We share data, yes. We offer shield protection, yes. But they must acknowledge their mistake. They must apologize publicly. Not to us, but to their own people who they endangered through arrogance. Ambassador Jiho smiled for the first time in months. That is wisdom. We extend our hand, but we do not pretend the insult never happened. For now, General Deho continued, we focus on our own people. Every resource goes to shield production and evacuation. The Horizon launches in 12 months. Every colony must be secured in 14 months. We work around the clock. Understood, Captain Hyun said. One more thing, Dr. Minho added. We should document everything. Every calculation, every test, every decision. When this is over, people need to know what happened. They need to understand that we warned them and we prepared while they laughed. Already doing it, Suji said. Complete records of the shield development, time-stamped and verified. The meeting ended. People filed out, returning to their stations and their work. Earth had 15 months to do what the Galactic Council refused to do. Prepare for the impossible. In workshops across the solar system, humans worked. They welded metal and programmed computers. They tested systems and built backup plans. They did not waste time on anger or resentment. They simply worked because work was what humans did best when survival was at stake. 14 months after the council hearing, the galaxy changed. Dr. Minho was in his observation post when the sensors started screaming. He had been watching the core for over a year, tracking every fluctuation, recording every anomaly. Now the readings were unmistakable. Gamma-ray bursts, massive ones, coming from exactly where his calculations predicted. The ancient containment systems were failing. He sent an alert to every observatory in human space. Then he sat back and waited. Within 6 hours, the first alien response came. Not to Earth, not to Dr. Minho, but visible on public scientific channels. The Vrexian Science Institute confirmed unusual energy emissions from the galactic core. The Telkarian University reported gravitational distortions matching predicted cascade failure patterns. One by one, institutions across the galaxy verified what Earth had been saying for over a year. The humans were right. Ambassador Jiho was having tea when the message arrived. The sender was High Chancellor Vexthar. Jiho stared at the notification for a full minute before opening it. The message was brief and formal. Ambassador Jiho. Recent scientific analysis confirms unusual activity in the galactic core. The Council requests immediate transmission of all relevant data from Earth's monitoring stations. We also require technical specifications of any defensive measures you have developed. Time is critical. Please respond urgently. No apology. No acknowledgement of error. Just a demand dressed up as a request. Jiho called an emergency meeting. General Deho arrived first, still in his work uniform. Captain Hyun came directly from the Horizon's bridge. Dr. Minho joined by video link. Suji ran in last, covered in grease from the shield assembly line. They want our data, Jiho said, displaying the message. Suji read it and laughed bitterly. They want our data? They called us fools. They said our equipment was broken. Now they want us to just hand over everything? The council chamber is in chaos, Dr. Minho said from his screen. I have been monitoring their public broadcasts. Different species are blaming each other. Some say they should have investigated sooner. Others claim Earth deliberately withheld information to make them look bad. We withheld nothing, General Deho said angrily. We gave them everything and they threw it back in our faces. What do we do? Yoon asked, looking at Jiho. The ambassador was quiet for a long moment. We help them, he finally said. But not like this. Not as beggars responding to demands. He began recording a response. When he finished, he played it for the group. Chancellor Vexithar, Earth acknowledges your message. We will transmit all relevant scientific data within the next 12 hours. This information is provided freely to help save lives. However, regarding defensive technology, Earth will deploy its shields to protect any world that formally requests assistance. We will not simply hand over weapons technology to a council that questioned our credibility. Requests for aid should be sent through proper diplomatic channels. Ambassador Jiho. Perfect, Hyun said. We help, but on our terms, Suji nodded. They want our shields? They ask nicely. They apologize for treating us like idiots. Some will be too proud, General Deho warned. Some species will refuse to ask for help from humans. Then they will face the wave alone, Jiho said quietly. We cannot force people to accept help. The message was sent. Within an hour, responses started flooding in. Not from the council as a whole, but from individual species. The Telkarians requested protection for their 3 colony worlds. The Minari asked for 2 shield units. The Yoshkari sent a formal apology along with their request. but others remained silent. The Vrexian Empire made no contact. Senator Kilmara's people, the Delcari, issued a statement saying they were developing their own defensive measures. Archon Feldros announced that his military forces would protect their territory without human assistance. Pride will kill them, Dr. Minho said, watching the responses come in. Perhaps, Jiho agreed, but it is their choice. We offered help honestly. That is all we can do. Captain Hyun began organizing the shield deployment. 20 vessels equipped with quantum displacement shields were assigned to protect the worlds that requested help. Each ship would position itself in orbit and activate its field when the wave arrived. What about Earth shields? Suji asked. Are we protected? 37 units operational, General Daeho confirmed. More than enough for our needs. 10 for Earth, 5 for Mars. The rest distributed among our colonies and the ships protecting alien worlds. The Galactic Council held an emergency session. Ambassador Jiho watched the broadcast. High Chancellor Vexthar stood before the assembly, looking diminished somehow, the crystalline being no longer sparkled with confidence. The situation is grave, Vexthar announced. All species must take immediate defensive measures. The Cascade Wave will reach the inner galaxy in approximately 4 months. We recommend evacuation of vulnerable systems. No mention of Earth's warning. No acknowledgement that this could have been prevented. Just instructions given too late. Jiho turned off the broadcast. Outside his window, human ships prepared to leave for alien worlds. Engineers loaded shield generators onto transport vessels. Crew said goodbye to their families, not knowing if they would return. They still do not apologize, Suji said, standing beside him. No, Jiho agreed, but we do not need their apology to do what is right. The galaxy held its breath and waited for the wave. 2 weeks passed. The requests for help continued to arrive, but they were not enough. Ambassador Jiho sat in his office reading reports. 37 species had formally asked for Earth's assistance. That meant protection for maybe 200 worlds. The galaxy held thousands of inhabited planets. The Delcari are building their own shields, Dr. Minho reported during their daily briefing. They are using our theory, but their execution is flawed. The shields will fail under the kind of energy load we expect. Should we tell them? Suji asked. Jiho considered this. Send a technical advisory. No politics, just engineering facts. If they choose to ignore it, that is their decision. General Daeho entered the room carrying a tablet. We have a problem. More species want our help than we have shields for. The requests now total 63. We can only cover 40 at most. The room fell silent. Choosing who to save and who to leave unprotected was an impossible decision. Priority system, Captain Hyun suggested. Population density. Worlds with the most people get protected first. That is logical, Jiho said, but it means some smaller colonies will be abandoned. All choices are terrible, Daeho said flatly. We do not have enough shields. We did not have enough time. We do the best we can. A message alert interrupted them. It was from High Chancellor Vexthar, marked urgent. Jiho opened it and read aloud. Ambassador Jiho, the Galactic Council formally requests a meeting to discuss collaborative defensive measures. Your presence is required. We have much to discuss regarding the current crisis. Required? Suji laughed without humor. They still think they can give us orders? I will go, Jiho said calmly. Why? Daeho demanded. They will just demand more from us while giving nothing in return. Perhaps, Jiho agreed. But we should hear what they have to say, and they need to hear certain things from me. 3 days later, Jiho stood once again in the council chamber. It looked different now. The seats were not all filled. Many representatives had returned to their homeworlds to help with evacuations. Those who remained looked worried. Even Vexthar seemed smaller somehow. Ambassador, the Chancellor began, thank you for coming. As you know, the situation is dire. We need Earth's shield technology. Not just deployment to selected worlds, but the technology itself, so all species can build their own defenses. Jiho did not answer immediately. He looked around the chamber slowly, meeting the eyes of those who had mocked him. Senator Kilmara would not look at him. Archon Feldros stared back defiantly. You want our technology, Jiho said finally. The same technology you claimed we could not possibly have developed. The technology that protects the worlds that asked us for help. The galaxy faces extinction, Vexthar said. This is not the time for petty resentments. Petty? Jiho's voice remained soft, but something in his tone made everyone listen. Chancellor, 18 months ago I stood in this chamber and begged you to listen. I showed you data. I explained the danger. Do you remember what happened? Silence, you laughed, Jiho continued. You called us primitive. You said our equipment was broken. You accused us of cowardice. And when we left this chamber, we did not waste time on anger. We went home and we built what was needed to survive. Ambassador, Kilmara tried to speak. I am not finished, Senator. Jiho's voice was steel wrapped in silk. Earth is helping 40 worlds right now. Our ships are in position. Our shields are ready. We are doing this despite your mockery, despite your insults. We are doing it because it is right. He paused, letting his words settle over the chamber. But you want more than protection. You want the technology itself. You want it without apology, without acknowledgement of error. You call this situation dire, but you created it. Your arrogance killed the time we needed to prepare properly. Archon Feldros stood up. How dare you speak to this council? Sit down, Archon. Vexthar's command was sharp. The warrior sat, but his anger was visible. What do you want, Ambassador? The Chancellor asked quietly. Honesty? Jiho said simply. Tell your people the truth. Tell them you ignored Earth's warning. Tell them you prioritized pride over preparation. Tell them that the casualties could have been prevented. You want us to admit failure? Kilmara's tentacles twisted in distress. I want you to accept responsibility, Jiho corrected. Do that and Earth will share everything. Our complete research, our shield specifications, training programs for engineers. Everything you need, and if we refuse, Feldros challenged. Jiho looked at him steadily. Then Earth continues helping those who asked honestly. And the rest of you face the wave with whatever you can build in the time remaining. He walked toward the exit. At the door he turned back. Humanity does not need your approval, Chancellor. We do not need your validation. We know what we are capable of. The question is whether you can set aside your pride long enough to let us help save your people. You have 3 days to decide. The door closed behind him, leaving the council in stunned silence. The wave arrived exactly when Dr. Minho predicted. Captain Hyun stood on the bridge of the horizon watching her displays. Around her, 20 human vessels held position above alien worlds. Each ship glowed with a faint blue light as their shields powered up. All ships report ready, her communications officer said. Network synchronization at 100%. Hyun looked at the tactical display. Red indicators showed the cascade wave sweeping through the galaxy. It moved at 90% of light speed, an impossible wall of radiation and energy. In its path, unprepared worlds went dark one by one. How long until it reaches us? She asked. 15 minutes, her science officer replied. Energy readings are beyond scale. This is going to be intense. On the planet below, millions of Telkarians watched the sky. They knew what was coming. Their governments had evacuated who they could, but most had nowhere to go. They gathered in public spaces and in their homes, waiting. Above them, a human ship promised protection with technology they barely understood. Back on Earth, Ambassador Jiho sat in the command center with General Daeho. Holographic displays showed the position of every human vessel. Green lights indicated shield status. All green so far. The council chose to accept your terms, Daeho said quietly. Yesterday, Vexthar made a public statement. He acknowledged their mistake. Said they failed their people by ignoring Earth's warning. I saw, Jiho replied. It was not easy for him, but he did it. And we sent them everything. Complete shield specifications, training materials, engineering support. 10 more species have started building their own shields with our help. It is too late for them to finish before the wave hits, Jiho said. Yes, but after the wave passes, they will be prepared for any aftershocks. That is something. A warning alarm sounded. The wave was 5 minutes away. On the horizon, Captain Hyun opened a fleet-wide channel. All vessels, this is Hyun, the wave is almost here. Our shields will hold. Trust your training. Trust your equipment. And remember, we are not just protecting these worlds. We are showing the galaxy what humanity can do. Stay strong. The responses came back one by one. 20 captains, 20 voices, all confident. They were ready. Engineer Suji was in Earth's Shield Control Center, monitoring power distribution. She had spent 2 years perfecting this system. Now it would be tested against the real thing. Her hands moved across the controls, making tiny adjustments, optimizing the field geometry. 1 minute, someone called out. The wave hit the outer rim first. Worlds without protection simply died. Their atmospheres stripped away in seconds. Their surfaces scorched clean. Billions of lives ended before anyone could scream. Then it reached the protected zones. The horizon's shields flared brilliant blue. The wave crashed against the quantum displacement field like an ocean against a cliff. Energy readings spiked to impossible levels. The shield redirected it all, sending the radiation into dimensional space, holding it for exactly 0.03 seconds, then releasing it harmlessly away from the planet. Shield holding at 98%, the science officer reported. Temperature nominal. Power consumption within expected parameters. Captain Hyun allowed herself a small smile. It works. The wave continued for 3 hours. 3 hours of impossible energy levels. 3 hours of shields glowing blue across 40 protected worlds. 3 hours of human technology doing what everyone said was impossible. On the Delcari homeworld, their own shields failed after 20 minutes. The Delcari people had refused Earth's help, choosing pride over protection. Their shields, built from Earth's theory but without proper execution, could not handle the load. Millions died when the energy broke through. The Vrexian core world suffered similar fates. Their ancient technology, once the pride of the Empire, proved useless against the cascade. Entire planets were left devastated, but every world protected by human shields survived. Every single one. When the wave finally passed, Captain Hyun checked her status board. 20 ships, 40 protected worlds, 0 casualties. She opened the fleet channel again. All ships report in. One by one they responded. All shields operational. All crew safe. All protected planets intact. Perfect success across the board. On the Telcarian homeworld, crowds gathered in the streets. They looked up at the human ship that had saved them. Some cried. Others cheered. Many simply stood in silence, understanding that they had just witnessed something remarkable. Back in Earth's command center, General Daeho looked at the casualty reports coming in from across the galaxy. The numbers were staggering. 40 billion dead on worlds that refused help or lacked protection. Entire species reduced to fragments of their former populations. 40 billion, he said quietly. All preventable. Ambassador Jiho nodded slowly. Pride is the most expensive luxury in the universe. Dr. Minho appeared on one of the displays. The wave is dissipating. There might be minor aftershocks over the next few years, but nothing like what we just saw. The worst is over. Good work, everyone, Jiho said. Bring our ships home. Let the galaxy see what humanity can do when we work together. Engineer Suji shut down the monitoring systems and leaned back in her chair. 2 years of work. 18 months of doubt and fear. 3 hours of testing under the most extreme conditions imaginable. And it worked. Every shield, every system, every calculation. Perfect. 3 months after the wave, the Galactic Council held a memorial session. The chamber was packed for the first time in years. Every seat was filled. Representatives who had stayed away before now came to bear witness. Ambassador Jiho sat in Earth's designated seat, watching as the names scrolled past on the central display. 40 billion individuals. Each name represented a life lost, a family destroyed, a future erased. High Chancellor Vexthar stood at the center platform. The crystalline being looked different now, dimmer somehow, less certain. When he spoke, his voice carried none of its former arrogance. We gather today to remember those we lost. Vexthar began. 40 billion souls across 200 species. Parents and children, teachers and students, farmers and artists and scientists, all gone because this council failed in its most basic duty. To listen. The chamber was silent. No one moved. 18 months ago, a representative from Earth stood where I stand now. He brought us a warning. He showed us data. He begged us to prepare, and we laughed. Vexthar turned to look directly at Jiho. We called them primitive. We questioned their competence. We accused them of seeking attention through fear. We were wrong about everything. Senator Kilmara rose from her seat. Her tentacles moved slowly, showing grief in their every motion. Ambassador Jiho, I owe you an apology. I dismissed your warning with contempt. I mocked your scientists. I suggested your species lacked the understanding to analyze galactic phenomena. I was catastrophically wrong. My people paid for my arrogance with 12 billion lives. She sat down heavily. Others began to stand. Archon Feldros was next. The warrior's armor looked dull, lacking its usual polish. I called humans cowards. I said they invented threats to avoid military service. I was a fool. While I questioned their courage, they prepared to save not just themselves, but anyone willing to accept their help. That is true courage. My military forces lost 40% of their strength because I was too proud to ask for assistance. One by one, council members stood and spoke. Each acknowledged their error. Each accepted responsibility for the deaths that could have been prevented. Some wept openly. Others spoke with quiet dignity. But all of them admitted the truth. When they finished, Vexthar spoke again. Ambassador Jiho, would you address the council? Jiho rose slowly and walked to the center platform. He looked around at the assembled representatives. These beings who had mocked him. These leaders who had refused to listen. They looked back at him with something he had never seen from them before. Respect. I accept your apologies, he said simply. All of them, without reservation. But I do not accept your guilt. Yes, you made mistakes. Yes, lives were lost that could have been saved. But guilt without action is worthless. What matters now is what we do next. He gestured to the display showing the casualty numbers. These people are gone. We cannot bring them back, but we can honor them by ensuring this never happens again. We can build better warning systems. We can establish protocols for evaluating threats regardless of who reports them. We can create a galaxy where pride does not cost lives. Earth does not want revenge, Jiho continued. We do not want dominance. We want partnership. Real partnership. Where every species is heard. Where warnings are evaluated on merit, not on the age of the civilization making them. Vexthar stepped forward. Ambassador, the Council wishes to offer Earth a permanent seat on the Security Directorate. We also propose establishing a new Threat Assessment Bureau, with human leadership, to ensure all warnings receive proper scientific review. We accept, Jiho said, on the condition that this bureau operates independently of political pressure. Science must guide threat assessment, not politics. Agreed, Vexthar said immediately. Several other council members voiced their approval. Jiho turned to address the full assembly. My people spent 18 months preparing for this disaster. We built shields. We developed technology. We planned evacuations. And when the wave came, we protected 40 worlds that asked for our help. Not because we expected payment. Not because we wanted recognition. But because it was the right thing to do. That is what humanity offers this galaxy, not military might, not economic power, but the willingness to help when help is needed, the determination to prepare when others are complacent, the courage to speak truth even when no one wants to listen. He paused, letting his words settle over the chamber. We cannot change the past. We cannot bring back the dead. But we can learn from this tragedy. We can build a better future together. The council rose as one. It was a sign of respect, a gesture of acknowledgement. For the first time, humans were not seen as newcomers or primitives. They were recognized as equals, as leaders, as those who had earned their place through action, not words. After the session, many representatives approached Jiho personally. They shook his hand or made equivalent gestures from their species. They thanked him for Earth's help. They promised cooperation in building the new threat assessment systems. Senator Kilmara was last. She floated before him, her tentacles forming a pattern of deep respect. Ambassador, my species owes Earth a debt we can never repay. 12 billion of my people died because of my pride, but 3 billion survived because your ships protected our colony worlds. How can we possibly thank you? Jiho smiled gently. Help us build the future, Senator. That is thanks enough. Back on Earth, people watched the council session on broadcasts. They saw their ambassador honored by the galaxy. They saw human technology recognized as superior. They saw the species that had mocked them now treating them with respect. But there was no celebration in the streets. No triumphant parades. Humans understood that 40 billion dead was not a victory. It was a tragedy that proved a point no one wanted proven. They had been right, and being right had cost the galaxy everything. 1 year after the Cascade Wave, Earth's orbital station hosted representatives from 73 different species. They came to attend the dedication ceremony for the Galactic Emergency Response Center. The building floated in orbit next to the station, a massive structure built with resources donated by grateful civilizations. Captain Hyun, now Admiral Hyun, stood at the observation window watching ships arrive. Telkarian vessels, Yoshkari transports, even a Vrexian diplomatic cruiser, its hull still showing scars from the wave's aftermath. Each ship carried officials coming to honor the humans who had saved them. Strange, is it not? Engineer Suji appeared beside her. A year ago, most of these species thought we were primitives. Now they send their children here to learn from us. The Sentinel program has 300 students now, Hyun replied. Engineers and scientists from across the galaxy, all learning how to build and operate quantum displacement shields. And we teach them everything, Suji said. No secrets, no withheld information, complete transparency. That is the human way. Dr. Minho joined them at the window. His hair had more gray in it now, but his eyes still held the same sharp intelligence. We share knowledge freely because knowledge should not be hoarded. Every species that learns our shield technology makes the galaxy safer. General Daeho arrived last, dressed in formal uniform for the ceremony. The council just approved funding for 200 permanent shield installations across critical systems. We will spend the next 5 years building them. 5 years of construction, Suji mused, and a lifetime of maintenance after that. We will be busy. Good, Daeho said. Humans work best when we are busy. Ambassador Jiho entered the observation room. At 60, he moved more slowly than before, but his presence still commanded respect. He had become something remarkable in the past year. The voice of reason in galactic politics. When disputes arose between species, they asked for his mediation. When new threats emerged, they consulted Earth first. Are we ready? He asked. The ceremony begins in 10 minutes, Hyun confirmed. High Chancellor Vexisthar will speak first, then you. Jiho nodded and walked to the window. Below, Earth turned peacefully. The planet looked unchanged, but everything was different now. Humans were no longer newcomers struggling for recognition. They were leaders, teachers, protectors. Do you ever think about that day in the council chamber? Minho asked quietly. When they laughed at us? Every day, Jiho admitted. Not with anger, but as a reminder. A reminder that being right is not enough. We must also be willing to act on what we know, even when no one supports us. That is what makes us human, Suji said. We do not wait for permission to do what is right. The group stood together in comfortable silence. They had been through so much together. The mockery, the desperate preparations, the terrifying hours when the wave hit, the grief of counting the dead, and finally the strange position of being celebrated by those who once dismissed them. Time to go, Daeho said. The galaxy awaits. They walked together to the ceremony hall. Thousands of beings from hundreds of worlds filled the space. When the human delegation entered, everyone stood. It was a gesture of respect that still felt strange to receive. High Chancellor Vexthar spoke first as promised. His words were gracious and humble. He praised Earth's foresight. He acknowledged the Council's failures. He promised a new era of cooperation and mutual respect. Then it was Jiho's turn. He walked to the platform and looked out at the assembled representatives. So many species, so many different forms of life, all gathered here because humans had refused to give up. We dedicate this facility today not as a monument to human achievement, Jiho began, but as a promise for our shared future, a promise that warnings will be heard, that science will guide decisions, that pride will never again cost billions of lives. The Cascade Wave taught us all a hard lesson. It showed us that dismissing others because they are young or small or different is not just wrong. It is deadly. Every species has something to contribute. Every perspective has value. Every warning deserves consideration. He paused, gathering his thoughts. When my colleagues and I came to the council 18 months ago, we were afraid. Not of the wave, but of being ignored. We knew what was coming. We knew we could not stop it alone. And when the council laughed at us, we faced a choice. We could have become bitter. We could have abandoned the galaxy to its fate. We could have protected only ourselves and let others suffer for their arrogance. But that is not who humans are. We chose a different path. We chose to prepare ourselves, yes, but also to help anyone willing to accept that help. That is the human way. We see problems and we solve them. We hear warnings and we prepare. We extend our hands even to those who once pushed us away, not because we are saints, but because we understand that we are all connected. Your survival is tied to ours. Your prosperity enriches us all. The hall was absolutely silent. Every eye was fixed on Jiho. This center will train thousands of engineers. It will monitor threats across the galaxy. It will coordinate responses to emergencies. But more importantly, it will serve as a reminder that listening to each other, respecting each other, and helping each other is not weakness. It is strength. The only strength that truly matters. The council mocked us once. They dismissed our warnings. They turned away from the truth we offered. But we did not respond with mockery. We responded with action. And when the moment came, we stood ready. Not just for ourselves, but for everyone. Jiho smiled gently. That is what it means to be human. Not to be perfect. Not to always be right. But to keep trying. To keep helping. To keep believing that tomorrow can be better than today. Welcome to humanity's gift to the galaxy. May it serve us all well. The applause was thunderous. Beings of every shape and size rose to honor the humans who had saved them. But the 5 humans on the stage did not celebrate. They simply stood together, knowing they had done what needed doing. Later, much later, when the ceremony ended and the guests departed, the 5 of them returned to the observation window. They watched the stars together just as they had done so many times before. We did it, Suji said softly. We did, Jiho agreed. Not because we were stronger or smarter, but because we refused to give up. Because we turned away from their mockery and toward our own capabilities. And in that moment, looking out at a galaxy forever changed by human determination, they understood the truth. The council had mocked them. But the silent humans had not retreated in defeat. They had simply turned away to do what humans do best, survive, adapt, and help others do the same.